The dignified heir of the distant guard marquis, Su Jianting, was mischievous in childhood and ended up having his manhood severed, becoming a eunuch. Just recently, Chang King Arutai was sliced in half by Arunana. Thus, Arunana naturally became the new king of the Chang kingdom, and Queen Suamo of the Chang kingdom, having lost Arutai as her backing, fell into utter despair and finally chose to jump off a cliff, ending her sinful life. Seeing that all was lost, Su Jianting seized a moment of distraction and turned to flee down the mountain in a panic. At first, with his profound inner strength, Su Jianting ran extremely fast, and only Big Fool remained in pursuit. But as his true energy continued to deplete, his steps grew heavier, and his speed gradually slowed. Meanwhile, Big Fool seemed tireless, relentlessly closing the gap, drawing nearer with every step. At this moment, Su Jianting knew that unless he eliminated Big Fool, he would never escape, so he gritted his teeth, abruptly stopped, spun around, drew the sword from his waist, and thrust it at Big Fool. But as a master of blocking, Big Fool reacted swiftly, instantly raising his steel blade and effortlessly deflecting the fierce strike. Realizing the sneak attack had failed, a fierce glint flashed in Su Jianting's eyes. In the next second, his swordplay turned vicious and sharp. A flurry of strikes came like a storm, targeting Big Fool's vital points. Yet Big Fool stood firm like a rock. The steel blade in his hand formed an impenetrable defense, blocking every strike from Su Jianting with ease. After Su Jianting thrust his sword over 100 times, the webbing between his thumbs had already split open, blood dripping continuously down the hilt. At this point, with all of his true energy depleted, his entire body was on the verge of collapse. He looked at Big Fool before him, eyes full of shock. Why is this happening? After sprinting dozens of miles and taking so many of my strikes, why haven't you lost even a bit of stamina? Big Fool, are you even human? But before he could voice the question, his exhausted body gave out, and he collapsed heavily into the icy snow. A while later, Big Fool threw the tightly bound Su Jianting down in front of Shenlang. Looking at the disheveled and humiliated Su Jianting on the ground, a faint smile appeared at the corner of Shenlang's mouth. Then he stepped forward, crouched down, and said with a grin, "Brother Su, when you went to the mythical turtle count's mansion to duel with my Mulan, boasting so loudly, did you ever think a day like this would come, where you'd fall by my hand?" At this point, Shenlang's smile vanished and his face turned grim as he continued, "During the battle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, you lent elite troops to the Tang family, and when you slaughtered my Jin warriors in military combat, did you ever consider you'd face retribution?" Overcome with emotion, Shenlang grabbed Su Jianting by the collar and roared, "That time, when my father-in-law and I weren't home, you led your family's death squads into the Jin mansion at night, committing a massacre, killing 100 innocent people. You even left a sword wound on my mother-in-law's back. Su Jianting, did you ever think you'd end up like this?" Seeing the rage in Shenlang's eyes, Su Jianting, at that moment, seemed to let go. He lifted his head and calmly smiled. "Every man for himself, or heaven and earth will destroy him. Since my Su family was already enemies with the Jin clan, of course we had to eliminate them all, root and branch." As soon as these words were spoken, Shenlang suddenly shoved him hard and said, "Eliminate them root and branch? Very good. Well said. Will I do it? Let him understand what it truly means to eliminate someone root and branch." As soon as he finished speaking, before Su Jianting could even react, a flash of cold light swept past before his eyes, and he suddenly felt a sharp emptiness somewhere on his body. When he looked down, he saw a crimson mess between his legs, and his severed manhood lying right in front of him. A second later, the searing pain struck, and he could no longer hold it in, screaming in agony. Moments later, as he regained his senses, Su Jianting endured the pain, and roared at Shenlang, "Shenlang, you beast, you'll die a horrible death. I'm the heir of the distant guard marquis. You destroyed my manhood. How is that any different from killing me?" Hearing this, Shenlang remained perfectly calm and lit a cigarette. Then he stepped forward, stuffed the cigarette into Su Jianting's mouth. "Stop yelling. Have a smoke. Calm down. It'll stop hurting soon." Su Jianting instinctively took a few puffs, and his whole body felt as if it were floating on clouds. The pain seemingly vanished. However, the next second, his vision went black, and he collapsed straight onto the snow, losing all consciousness. With that, Shenlang's battle to defeat the Chang army came to a successful end. Time was tight, so the soldiers only rested for an hour among the ruins of the Great Calamity Palace. Then, under Aranana's command, they gathered into formation, ready to descend the mountain and go support Jang Chong. Watching the mighty army march downhill, Shenlang felt a rush of mixed emotions. "Lord Zhang, please hold on. I'm leading the troops to save you now." Just then, Shenlang suddenly noticed the Grandmaster Banruo behind him, sneaking around with a carved mask in hand, heading into the ruins of the Great Calamity Palace. Moments later, Grandmaster Banruo arrived in the stone sculpture forest deep within the ruins. This time, she had originally come at Su Nan's request to eliminate Shenlang and his companions, and to seek revenge on Li Qianqiu along the way. But alas, her strength was limited, and the mission failed. Since that was the case, she now intended to stay here, carefully study these relief carvings. To have such an array set up inside the Great Calamity Palace, there must be profound meaning behind it, and perhaps, in the end, an unexpected surprise might be found. Shenlang, who had been secretly following Grandmaster Banruo, also sensed something unusual about these stone carvings. But time was tight, and he couldn't afford any delay, so he immediately immediately activated his X-ray vision, scanning the entire formation into his smart brain. He'd study it in detail later when he had the time. The scene shifts to the eastern sea off Furious Tide City, where the sunset casts its last light across the sky, waves crashing along the beach. 30,000 troops from Wu Nation were staging a massive beach landing here. Commander Wu Mu had originally expected to be intercepted during the landing, but to his surprise, the army encountered no obstacles and landed smoothly. The Jin clan's overly cautious yet completely passive stance instantly boosted the morale of the Wu troops. At this moment, Wu Mu gave the order, "All troops, listen up. Immediately occupy the eastern purple fortress of Furious Tide City. Rest for the night and prepare to battle at dawn." As night fell, Wu Mu stood inside the fortress, looking toward the main Jin stronghold, a vague sense of unease creeping into his heart. Everything was too quiet, too smooth. They occupied the fortress of Chiu Yaoer, set up camp, and established defenses. Yet the Jin clan had no reaction at all. Are they truly focusing all efforts on defense? Or is there another scheme at play? A whole night passed in the blink of an eye. The next morning, 30,000 troops assembled outside the city gates, and Wu Mu stood atop the city wall, raising his arm and shouting, "All soldiers, listen up. Surround the Jin clan's main fortress. Full assault." As his voice fell, soldiers in the front pushed a dozen catapults, followed by fully armed troops behind, advancing in grand formation toward the center of Furious Tide City. In less than an hour, they had completely surrounded the main fortress. At this moment, Wu Mu looked upon the massive, heavily fortified stronghold before him, his heart filled with awe. But then he thought, so what if it's sturdy? The Jin family is now leaderless, plus we have Jin Shuring as an insider. This battle is a guaranteed victory for me. Wu Mu. Thinking this, he immediately shouted toward the main fortress, "I am Wu Mu, Commander-in-Chief of Wu Nation. May I ask if General Jin Mulan is present?" Just as the words left his mouth, Jin Mulan appeared on the wall, accompanied by Jin Shuring. The moment Wu Mu saw Mulan, he was instantly struck by her beauty. Too beautiful. No wonder the crown prince of Yu Kingdom lusted after her so deeply. If Jin Shuring were to behead her, though it would bring an immediate victory, it would still be a pity to lose such a rare beauty. Thinking this, he shouted directly, "General Jin Mulan, speak. This battle is already lost for the Jin clan. Why not surrender now? I can give you a ship and let you return to mythical Turtle City to reunite with your mother and husband." Upon hearing this, Mulan let out a cold laugh and said, "To shrink back in battle is the act of a coward. Every Jin soldier has an unyielding spirit. This city is our last line of defense. If the city stands, we live. If the city falls, we die." Hearing this, Wu Mu's face darkened at once. In that case, there's nothing more to say. All troops, prepare to storm the city. The timeline shifts to the 14th day of Jang Chong's defense. At this point, all of White Knight County resembled a living hell, utterly terrifying. The corpses of fallen soldiers had already piled into mountains, and of over 4,000 elite troops, fewer than 1,000 remained. Now, the defenders' blades were broken, and all prepared logs and fish oil had been used up. To keep holding the city, they even smashed boulders, and carried the broken stones barehanded to resist the charging Sioux army. Meanwhile, in the Sioux army's camp, Commander Kuan was so furious at the current situation that he was grinding his teeth. He never imagined that the soldiers under Jang Chong's command would be so formidable. Just a few thousand men had caused the Sioux army over 10,000 casualties. Back then, he had sworn to the Lord with full confidence that White Knight County would fall within 3 days. But now it was already the 14th day. If he still couldn't take it, he truly didn't know how he could explain himself to the Lord. In fact, on the 10th day of the battle, Kuan had nearly won. It's worth noting that during this time, the Sioux coalition army had received reinforcements twice, with their numbers peaking at 33,000 troops. At that point, they were on the verge of breaching the county city. Unexpectedly, a scouting cavalry unit from Jin Tua suddenly arrived at the city gate with news that Jin Tua's army is marching south to reinforce. Though that cavalry unit was eventually wiped out by the Sioux army, the news it brought greatly boosted the morale of the defenders, like an adrenaline shot, rekindling their hope, and they managed to repel the Sioux troops from the city walls once again. At this moment, Kuan looked at the battle report in his hand and let out a cold laugh. That Jin Tua and Su Zhan of Snowbright City really know how to put on a show. The Jin clan's main force was stationed at White Knight Pass, supposedly dispatching 8,000 troops to march south as reinforcements, but they were blocked by Snowbright City the entire way. And in truth, the casualties were minimal, though both sides clashed fiercely every day. Ning Yuansen had entrusted Jin Tua with full military control in western Celestial Province, watching over the Zhong family to the north and the Su family to the south. Quite the clever scheme. But he overlooked one thing. The human heart is ever-changing. The warlord atmosphere in the Western Army was far too strong, and after being immersed in it for so long, even if Jin Tua had no ambition at first, he would inevitably develop other thoughts. However, Kuan actually believed Jin Tua wasn't wrong to think that way, even if he brought over 10,000 troops to support Jang Chong. So what? Together, they would only have about 20,000 soldiers, while the Sioux clan still had nearly 40,000 troops. Not to mention, the main Chang army hadn't even arrived yet. Once the Sioux and Chang forces joined, it would be an army of 80,000. Jin Tua valued his troops this much, and with Yu Kingdom on the verge of annihilation, how could he truly truly risk his life. How could he not preserve his own strength for future plans? He used to think Jang Chong was a clever man, but it turned out he was just a foolish loyalist. Ning Yuansen clearly intended to use him as cannon fodder, yet he still gave everything to serve that harsh and ungrateful monarch. But he had to admit, Jang Chong truly was impressive. Clearly a civil official, yet he carried out a general's duties to perfection. Even after the Sioux army received 2 waves of reinforcements, with nearly 10 times the numbers, they still failed to breach a city defended by just a few thousand men. But now, no matter how capable you are, it's useless. Tomorrow, this White Knight County will definitely fall, and you, Jang Chong, will surely die. That night, inside the Sioux clan's main fortress, Suyong respectfully entered Su Nan's study and reported, "Master, the people you requested have been brought." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 people bound tightly with ropes were brought in. To everyone's surprise, the captives turned out to be Jang Chong's second son, Jang Sun, and his grandson, Jang Yun. Su Nan turned around for a glance, then stepped forward, crouched down, pinched Jang Yun's cheek, and asked, "How old are you?" But unexpectedly, despite his young age, Jang Yun was extremely stubborn, and without saying a word, he spat directly onto Su Nan's face. Jang Sun was terrified by his son's action, and hurriedly stepped forward to shield Jang Yun, shouting angrily, "Su Nan, have you no shame? Even a child is not spared." Su Nan picked up a handkerchief and wiped his face, then sneered coldly, "Is this the first day your Zhang family has known me? Su Nan, do you really not know whether I have any limits or not?" With that, he gave Su Yong an order, "Send them to Su Kuan tonight without delay. Make sure Jang Chong sees his son and grandson with his own eyes before tomorrow's battle. It's been months. I'm sure he's missed them dearly." A moment later, after everyone had left, Su Yong returned to Su Nan's side and asked, "Master, are we planning to use this father and son to force Zhang to surrender?" Hearing this, Su Nan sneered and said, "Getting Jang Chong to surrender? That's impossible. A man as loyal as him. Even if he did surrender, I wouldn't dare use him. Of course, the plan is to hold a blade to his son and grandson's necks and force him to take his own life. Once Jang Chong is dead, won't White Knight County fall without us having to lift a finger?" Upon hearing this, Su Yong immediately understood. After thinking for a moment, he asked again, "Then after Jang Chong is dead, what should we do with these 2? Su Nan shot him a glare. "Obviously, eliminate them completely. What? Are we going to let that 5-year-old boy grow up and come back for revenge? Didn't you see? Even now, he knows how to spit in my face." The scene then cuts back to White Knight County. Today's hellish battle had finally come to an end, and Jang Chong was sitting in a room, receiving medical treatment from a military doctor. But this time, his condition was dire, as his wounds had become infected and he had developed a fever. As the doctor dressed his wounds, he advised sincerely, "Lord Zhang, your physical condition is extremely poor right now. If you don't rest properly, I fear." But before he could finish, Jang Chong stood up abruptly and said, "Don't say it. Right now, I am the backbone of our troops. If I fall, morale will collapse." Just as he finished speaking, a wave of dizziness struck him. The doctor rushed forward to support him, continuing to plead anxiously, "Lord Zhang, you mustn't force yourself." Hearing this, Jang Chong merely shook his head, then gritted his teeth and ordered, "Say no more. Help me into my armor." Jang Chong knew very well how bad his physical condition was, but he also knew even more clearly that the news of Jin Tua coming to reinforce was false, though he had long suspected it. A surge of anger still welled up in his heart. "Young Master Shin, how are things on your end? I truly can't hold on much longer." Just as this thought crossed his mind, another wave of dizziness struck, and his vision went black. He fainted. At the same time, dozens of miles away, Shin Lang and Arunana were leading a large Chan army, racing on horseback toward White Knight County. On horseback, Shin Lang was filled with anxious urgency. "Lord Zhang, hold on. This is the final moment. You must endure. I'm bringing the army and we're almost there." 2 hours later, the unconscious Jang Chong finally woke up. By now, his fever was nearing 40 degrees, and the weakness in his body made even sitting up extremely difficult. The old servant at his side saw him trying to get out of bed upon waking, and was immediately heartbroken. "Master, please don't move. Princess Ning Jia is commanding at the city walls. You've taken your medicine, now rest for a while." But Jang Chong forced himself upright and said, "If the soldiers don't see me, their morale will fall. Once I'm dead, I'll have all the time in the world to sleep. It won't make much difference if I rest a little less. Help me into my armor." After a while, Jang Chong was slowly climbing the steps of the city wall alone, with great difficulty. At this moment, his entire body felt groggy, as if his legs were tied with sandbags weighing 1,000 pounds, too heavy to lift. Just then, Princess Ning Jia, in disguise, suddenly appeared behind him and supported him. "Lord Zhang, why have you come? I'm already here. Please go back and rest." Jang Chong shook his head. "No, I must stand guard here." When the soldiers saw the haggard Jang Chong appear once again on the battlefield, they were stunned for a moment, and in the next second, they erupted in joyful cheers. "Lord Prefect has returned." In an instant, the previously exhausted troops saw hope rekindled in their eyes, and their low morale surged once more. Seeing this, Jang Chong forced himself to perk up, stepped forward, and shouted loudly, "Brave soldiers, you've fought hard. Now return to your posts at once and prepare for battle." At daybreak, the Sioux army was supposed to launch a fierce assault, but today, for some unknown reason, they made no move. What the defenders saw instead were 2 tall platforms being constructed outside the the enemy camp overnight. At that moment, a soldier pointed to the platforms and shouted, "My lord, look, it seems someone's being held hostage up there." Hearing this, Jang Chong suddenly felt his heart tighten. When he saw the people on the platform with blades to their necks, his face instantly turned pale, his lips trembling as he muttered, "How could this be? How could it be my son Jang Sun and my little grandson Little Yun?" At that moment, Jang Chong felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His already extremely weakened body could no longer bear the devastating blow. His vision went black, and he collapsed straight to the ground. At the critical moment, Princess Ning Jia quickly caught him and held him steady. The soldiers gathering around all wore looks of deep concern. Ning Jia hurriedly took out the special ointment Shen Lang had left behind and applied it to Jang Chong's forehead. Moments later, Jang Chong slowly regained consciousness, but the instant he remembered the desperate situation his son and grandson were in, tears burst uncontrollably from his eyes. Disasters should never fall on one's family. "Sunan, you beast, my grandson isn't even 5 years old. How could you lay hands on him?" At that moment, atop the high platform outside the city, Sunan's adopted son Su Jianyan stood and shouted loudly, "Jang Chong, take a good look at the two people beneath my feet. Don't forget, your third son Zhang Ji is already dead. Your eldest son's fate in the southern Ouyang Kingdom battlefield is still unknown, and now your second son and grandson are in our hands. If I kill the two of them today, then your Zhang family might truly be wiped out." When the newly awakened Jang Chong heard Su Jianyan's taunts, his face instantly turned ghostly pale with fury. Even Princess Ning Jia never expected that the Su clan would stoop to such despicable and shameless acts, but she knew Jang Chong's character well. If the Su clan was trying to use this as leverage to force him into surrender, then it was absolutely bound to fail. Just as she had this thought, Su Jianyan suddenly shouted again, "Jang Chong, don't overthink it. We of the Su clan are not doing this to make you surrender. Take a good look at your clever and adorable grandson. If you don't want the white-haired to bury the black-haired, if you don't want to see your son and grandson beheaded, then accept our terms. Order your troops to open the gates, then take up your sword and kill yourself in front of everyone. Exchange your life for the lives of your son and grandson. A fair trade, don't you think?" As soon as these words were spoken, outrage erupted among our soldiers that the Su clan would stoop to threatening a man's family. Such disgrace was beyond contempt. Even Princess Ning Jia was stunned by Su Jianyan's words. For the Su clan to force Jang Chong into suicide with tactics like this, if word got out, did they not care about their reputation? Weren't they afraid it would shatter the morale of their own troops? However, when she saw the sinister looks on the faces of the Su soldiers below, she immediately understood. So that's how it is. Most of the Su clan soldiers at present came from the western regions and the Chan kingdom. To these barbarians, to achieve their goal, they had no bottom line whatsoever. At that moment, Su Jianyan continued shouting, "Jang Chong, I'll count to 5. If you don't comply, then you'll just have to watch your son and grandson be executed before your eyes." Hearing this, even Ning Jia panicked. "Lord Zhang, you mustn't do anything foolish. Even if you take your own life, they still won't spare Jang Chong and Yunner." Jang Chong fell silent, listening to the countdown coming from across the battlefield. After a long pause, he finally spoke slowly, "Your Highness, I know they won't let Power and Yunner live, but my death might ignite the morale of our soldiers. From here on, the city's defense will depend on you." With that, he raised his sword and suddenly slashed it toward his neck. Realizing what was happening, Princess Ning Jia didn't hesitate for a second. She rushed forward at the fastest speed of her life and grabbed the blade with her bare hand. However, Jang Chong had moved too fast, and the sword still sliced across his neck. As blood sprayed out, Jang Chong's thin body collapsed. On the high platform, Jang Chong's son and grandson saw this scene and were overwhelmed with grief and fury, crying out loudly, sobbing as they shouted that they wanted to die with Su Jianyan. But just as Jang Chong's son stood up, he was kicked to the ground by the executioner beside him and brutally beaten. Su Jianyan turned to the people around him and said with a grin, "Don't rush. The Lord has ordered that you too will be buried with him. Just not now. You'll be killed in secret." Then he looked again toward the walls of White Knight County. "I didn't expect the Lord's tactic to be so effective. I didn't even finish counting to 5, and Jang Chong killed himself. Truly effortless." And just as Jang Chong had predicted, when the soldiers witnessed his suicide, they were instantly consumed by rage, roaring in unison to avenge Prefect Zhang. Su Jianyan looked at the bloodshot, furious eyes of the defenders atop the city wall and couldn't help but frown. What the? Jang Chong's suicide actually boosted their morale? Did we just shoot ourselves in the foot? But in the rear, the Su clan's main commander, Su Kuan, saw it differently. With a face full of disdain, he sneered at the scene before him. Jang Chong is already dead. How long can that morale even last? The defenders are now leaderless. Their defeat is inevitable. He immediately stepped onto the command platform, raised his sword, and shouted, "Jang Chong is dead. All troops, prepare to storm the city." As his voice fell, the war drums thundered across the battlefield, and tens of thousands of Su soldiers, swords in hand, surged toward White Knight County like a tidal wave. But on the city walls, a scene of blood and iron unfolded. Jang Chong's suicide had completely ignited the fury within the defenders. Everyone fought with the resolve to perish alongside these beasts, swearing to avenge Prefect Zhang. In an instant, the two armies clashed in close combat, the roar of battle shaking the heavens. In a brutal, bloody melee erupted. However, in the rear, Kuan remained perfectly calm. He knew very well, without Jang Chong commanding, expecting Princess Ning Jia to lead the troops in battle was simply unrealistic, no matter how intense the fighting looked right now. Once the momentum born from their rage wears off, White Knight County will completely fall. From this day on, there will be no one left in Western Celestial Province who can stand in the way of the Su clan's army. Just then, a thunderous sound of hooves erupted from the southwest. A cavalry force of over 10,000 surged forward, kicking up a storm of dust as they charged like a whirlwind. Looking closely, the one leading them was none other than the Chang Kingdom's fierce vanguard general, Shibutai. Seeing this, Kuan sneered inwardly. I was just making some progress, and now your Chang vanguard cavalry shows up. I can't let you steal my credit. Otherwise, people will say we Su forces couldn't even take White Knight County without your help. Thinking this, he immediately shouted down below, all troops, press forward, take White Knight County at once. But just as the words left his mouth, a massive wave of Chang cavalry had already arrived before him. Kuan was puzzled. Those reinforcements are usually so slow. Why are they charging so aggressively today? Are they really here to steal the glory? While he was still wondering, Arunana and Shenlang simultaneously threw off their cloaks, then shouted at the top of their lungs, all troops, listen up, defend White Knight County, exterminate every last Su clan traitor, leave no one alive. As the command was given, over 10,000 Chang troops raised their blades and let out thunderous roars. By the time the Su army at the front reacted, it was already too late. These aggressive Chang soldiers, with terrifying momentum, charged fiercely from the rear and tore through the Su forces. The battlefield quickly turned into a one-sided massacre by the Chang army. On the high platform, Kuan was completely stunned. To be precise, from the moment he saw Shenlang and Arunana, his mind had already gone blank. How could it be Shenlang? Wasn't he forced onto the snowy mountains by Arutai and the monk Kunan's tens of thousands of troops? Why is he now back with Arunana, leading Arutai's elite warriors in a counterattack? Could it be that Arutai has been completely defeated and the Chang army now fully follows Arunana? How could this happen? Why didn't I receive any information? What on earth happened during this time? Back then, Kuan had also encountered the avalanche while fleeing, and while Arunana was hunting down Kunan monk and his warrior monks, she happened to capture him, thus making him Shenlang's prisoner. Although Kunan monk managed to escape, he had already been scared senseless at the time, and couldn't care less about the Su clan's fate. That's why Kuan, even now, had received no intel whatsoever about the Chang army. At this moment, Kuan gave a trembling order. Quick, gather the entire army and turn around to face the enemy from the rear. The soldier beside him replied anxiously, my lord, we can't retreat. Right now, our troops are fully engaged in storming the city. There's no way we can regroup in time. As soon as he heard this, Kuan's mind went completely blank. This was open, flat terrain. Even if they managed to regroup, they wouldn't be able to stop the Chang army's encirclement. What to do? What can I possibly do? But before he could think any further, Arunana had already led her 10,000 cavalry into a frenzy of slaughter. Of course, this kind of overwhelming, crushing assault was exactly the favorite style of these Chang warriors. The defenders of White Knight County had initially believed that the tide of incoming cavalry were reinforcements for the Su clan. Just as despair was setting in, one soldier suddenly cried out in joy, brothers, the cavalry are attacking the Su rebels. There are reinforcements. Then another soldier shouted in ecstasy, it's Lord Shen. Lord Shen has taken control of the Chang army. We're saved. In an instant, the morale of all the troops soared once more. Standing atop the city walls, they shouted in unison, long live Lord Jang Chong. In the distance, Shenlang heard the cheers from the city wall and looked completely speechless. I'm the one leading the army to save the day, Shenlang. So why is everyone shouting long live Jang Chong? Meanwhile, Ning Jia, who was still frantically trying to stop Jang Chong's bleeding, was also utterly shocked at this moment. She hadn't expected that Shenlang, who always seemed like an unreliable scoundrel, had actually managed to, with only 200 men, destroy Arutai's tens of thousands of troops, and now, within the promised time, returned with over 10,000 soldiers to save them. No wonder Jang Chong had trusted him so deeply. At this moment, the always composed and calm Ning Jia looked at the unconscious Jang Chong and couldn't help but burst into tears of joy. Lord Jang, please wake up. We're about to win. Open your eyes and look. We've won. We've won. At this point, on the battlefield, thousands of Su clan infantry were being hunted down and scattered in all directions by the Chang vanguard cavalry's surprise attack from the rear. Next, the monks of the Great Calamity Temple and the Su clan's hired mercenaries also met the same fate, slaughtered to the last man under Arunana's command. During all this, Kuan, realizing the situation was beyond salvation, fled in panic with what little remained of his personal guard. However, it was all in vain. With just a glance from Shenlang from afar, Wu Lai immediately led his troops to intercept them. Moments later, Wu Lai came before Shenlang and reported, young Master Shen, Kuan and Su Jianyan have been surrounded by our forces, but Lord Zhang's family is still in their hands. We dare not act rashly. Hearing this, Shenlang nodded, then stepped into the encirclement himself. At that moment, Su Jianyan saw Shenlang approaching and immediately grabbed little Zhang Yun with a dagger to his neck, shouting loudly, Shenlang, if you know what's good for you, let me go right now, or I'll take this boy with me to the grave. Shenlang looked at his near nearly deranged expression and could only respond calmly. Su Jianyan, don't get worked up. You've always just been a minor player in the Su clan. I promise you this. If you release Jang Chong and his son, I'll let you go. Hearing this, Su Jianyan not only didn't loosen his grip, but clutched the blade even tighter, then shouted viciously, "No way! What if I let them go and you go back on your word and slaughter us all? You have to let us leave first." Shenlang thought for a moment, then replied, "How about this? You leave Zhang Sun behind. He's an adult and only a burden to carry. I'll allow you to take Shan Yun as a hostage, but my condition is Su Kuan must stay behind. You can leave alone." With that, Shenlang even signaled Li Qianqiu to lead the nearby elite warriors to retreat half a mile away, as a gesture of goodwill. Seeing this, Su Jianyan gritted his teeth and said, "Fine." After thinking for a moment, he gave the order, "Send him over." And so, Zhang Sun, still unconscious, was brought over to Shenlang's side. Meanwhile, Su Kuan, standing off to the side, had remained silent the entire time. He knew in his heart that Su Jianyan wouldn't get away. With Shenlang's cunning and methods, there was no way he would let him leave alive. Shenlang, seeing his goal achieved, gave a nod. At that moment, he nodded to the soldiers, and the troops behind him parted to form a clear path. Su Jianyan saw this and was overjoyed. No longer caring about Su Kuan's fate, he immediately grabbed Zhang Yun and prepared to flee. Just then, a soft, delicate voice called out, "Jianyan, don't go, save me." Hearing that familiar voice, Su Jianyan froze. When he saw Su Shi before him, a flood of bitter memories between them resurfaced. This woman had always been his true love, but due to their vast difference in status, they were never able to be together. Back when Su Nan sent her to Urutai, Su Jianyan had wept bitterly over it. Thinking of this, he immediately shouted, "Shenlang, let Su leave with me, otherwise, I'll chop off this brat's hand." Hearing that, Shenlang couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He hadn't expected Su Jianyan to actually be such a hopeless romantic. After thinking for a moment, Shenlang pretended to hesitate, then waved his hand, signaling reluctant agreement. When Su rode her horse over to him, Su Jianyan was excited but didn't dare waste a second, and immediately took Su Lai with him, galloping straight toward the distant guard marquis's estate. Along the way, he kept glancing back, wary of any pursuit from Shenlang. Only when his horse was utterly exhausted did Su Jianyan finally relax and slow down. At that moment, he let out a long sigh of relief, then muttered to himself, "Who would have thought that fool Shenlang would actually let me go? He really believed I'd spare Zhang's grandson? What a delusional idiot. Once I reach the distant guard marquis estate, I'll kill the brat and let Shenlang come pick up the body himself." He then turned his head, gazing at Su Lai with tenderness, and said, "Sister Su, you've suffered so much. From now on, I'll never let you leave my side again." Su Lai simply smiled and nodded gently in response. However, the moment Su Jianyan turned around, Su Lai suddenly drew a rainstorm pear blossom needle gun. Without the slightest hesitation, she fired several shots at him. Hundreds of poison needles instantly pierced into Su Jianyan's body. He let out a shrill, agonized scream, his face filled with disbelief. At that moment, he endured the searing pain, turned his head to ask Su Lai why she had done this. But before he could get an answer, the poison had already spread through his body, and he fell from his horse. Su Lai then slowly rode up, her voice icy as she said, "You're asking me why? Of course, it's because I want to live. Su Jianyan, I may have been your first woman, but to me, you were just one of many men. Did you really think I would give up my life for you?" At the same time, within the military encirclement outside White Knight County, Su Kuan walked shakily toward Shenlang and asked, "Shenlang, Urutai and Su Jianting, are they both dead?" Shenlang shrugged and smiled. "Does it still matter?" Su Kuan froze, then sighed and said, "You're right, none of it matters anymore. But Shenlang, even though you won this battle for White Knight County, don't forget, behind me stands the entire Su clan, and a lord who is smarter and more experienced than you. You want to destroy my Su clan? What a delusional fantasy. One day, the Su clan will rise again, and will wipe out your entire Jin family." Shenlang dug at his ear, looking annoyed as he said, "Su Kuan, you're already a dead man. Does any of this still have anything to do with you? If you're going to kill yourself, do it already. Stop dragging it out. If you don't move, I'll order an attack on your men." Seeing Shenlang's arrogant expression, Su Kuan was on the verge of exploding with rage. At last, he couldn't hold back and let out a roar of anguish, then suddenly drew his sword, held it to his neck, and shouted, "Brother Su Nan, you must avenge me. Shenlang, I'll be waiting for you in hell." With that, he pressed the blade harder, and in the next second, collapsed into a pool of blood. As soon as Su Kuan died, Shenlang immediately turned towards Su Kuan's personal troops and shouted loudly, "Everyone, your commander is dead. Drop your weapons and surrender." As soon as he spoke, the defeated Su soldiers looked at one another, their eyes filled with panic and hesitation. Then, one by one, they threw down their weapons. Shenlang was quite satisfied with this and said with a smile, "Very good. Now kneel and stay where you are." The defeated soldiers didn't dare argue. They obediently knelt down on the spot. Just then, Shenlang suddenly burst into laughter and said, "Sure, there's a saying that goes, better to die standing than live kneeling. But I never intended to let you live anyway. I just wanted to watch you all die kneeling." As soon as he finished speaking, a fierce glint appeared on his face. "Archers, ready, fire." At his command, the Chang army behind him raised their bows in perfect unison and unleashed a storm of arrows. The defeated Su soldiers on the ground didn't even have time to react before they were turned into pincushions proportions by the dense rain of arrows. Facing the gruesome sight before him, Shenlang only coldly spat out a line. "You evil parasites, you don't deserve to live in this world." With that, he turned and walked into the city without looking back. Thus, of the 20,000 troops under Kuan's command, aside from the few thousand who managed to flee, the rest were completely annihilated. The Battle of White Knight County ended in a sweeping victory with Shenlang's reinforcements. Meanwhile, far away on the Wuiwa border, a political chess match between two kings was still unfolding. Inside the Wu King's war tent, the atmosphere was tense and oppressive. After hearing the frontline report from a close advisor, King Wu Qi, was already seething with rage. He hadn't expected that the traitorous General Bian Zhao, relying on his past knowledge of Wu's terrain, leading fewer than 20,000 troops. He bypassed several heavily defended cities along the western front and drove straight into the heart of Wu Nation. Even though Wu had mobilized 100,000 soldiers to intercept him, under the command of the veteran General Bian Zhao, these divided forces were completely outmaneuvered. At present, at least 3 cities had been plundered, and 2 others had suffered surprise attacks, resulting in heavy casualties. Yet they still couldn't even pinpoint Bian Zhao's location. At this moment, Wu Qi felt as if he had been publicly slapped across the face. "Ning Yuansen, you really are insane. To give Bian Zhao this opportunity, you actually took out millions in military loans, and even used yourself as bait, redeploying 30,000 elite troops southward to guard the capital city. Although Bian Zhao hasn't captured a single city yet, his tactics have already dealt a devastating blow to the economy of Wu Nation." At that moment, General Wu Ji stepped forward and suggested, "Your Majesty, Bian Zhao's army is already a deadly threat to us. He must be eliminated. Our 30,000 troops stationed in the west haven't yet arrived at the main camp. We can issue a decree now, ordering them to turn back immediately to help encircle Bian Zhao." Hearing this, Wu Qi took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. "We can't rush this. This nation is mine to rule, no matter what decisions I make. In the end, I alone must bear the consequences, so the more critical the moment, the more I must remain calm and face it head-on." Just then, 2 deputy generals suddenly dropped to their knees and tearfully pleaded, "Your Majesty, please immediately recall the army to defend the western front and block Bian Zhao. If we delay any longer, it could lead to a catastrophic disaster." With that, they both knelt down together. Seeing the scene before him, a trace of disgust appeared on Wu Qi's face. He knew full well that these veteran generals kneeling before him, while outwardly appearing heartbroken over the situation, were in fact inwardly gloating. After all, it was because he had ignored their advice and insisted on his own course of action that the current crisis had unfolded. Wu Qi took a deep breath and asked, "You mean to say Bian Zhao, with just over 10,000 light cavalry, can capture the fortified cities of my Wu Nation?" Upon hearing this question, the kneeling deputies trembled all over, cold sweat immediately beading on their foreheads. Seeing this, Wu Qi swept a cold glance over them and continued, "Bian Zhao knows Wu's terrain like the back of his hand. To be able to lead his troops so swiftly into our heartland, even if we deploy another 100 or even 200,000 soldiers, it likely won't change the outcome. The key to resolving the Bian Zhao crisis has never been within Wu Nation itself." At this point, a trace of bitterness flashed in his eyes. "It lies within Yu Kingdom. I admit, this time I was deceived by Ning Yuansen. I never imagined he'd send Bian Zhao to launch a surprise attack on Wu Nation. But so what? The battle at Furious Tide City has already begun. Once our army seizes the entire Thunderous Archipelago, that great victory will be enough to offset the losses at home. As for Ning Yuansen's all-in gamble, he's destined to lose everything. Bian Zhao's surprise attack on Wu Nation has indeed pained me deeply, but Yu Kingdom's crisis is far from resolved. Western Celestial Province, White Knight County, Sunan's rebellion. Aren't they all blades hanging over Ning Yuansen's head? He sent Jang Chong to hold White Knight County to the death, thinking it was a safe move, but he trusted the wrong person. Marquis pacifying the west of you, Jin Tua, a man like him, who treasures his troops so much. How could he possibly give his all to reinforce the front lines? And the final result will be, Sunan's army will sweep across the entire southern Western Celestial Province. Jang Chong, isolated and unsupported, will be annihilated, and White Knight County will fall completely. At this point, King Wu abruptly fell silent. A flash of cold light gleamed as he suddenly drew his sword and roared, "Deputy Generals, hear my command. Order all cities across the nation to seal their gates immediately. Secure all passes tightly. Do not give Bian Zhao any opening. Our main force is to continue surrounding Bian Zhao until he is fully encircled. No one is to engage in battle without orders. The 30,000 troops from the west are to proceed with the original plan and station at my central camp. We must ensure that 150,000 elite troops remain in position so as to exert overwhelming pressure on the King of Yu. Once White Knight County falls and Yu Kingdom is gravely weakened, that will be the moment Ning Yuansen comes begging me for negotiations. By then, Bian Zhao will not only have to withdraw his troops, but Yu Kingdom will also have to pay war reparations, recognize Wu Nation's sovereignty over the Thunderous Archipelago, and cede at least 2 prefectures to us. At that time, Wu Nation won't just avoid defeat, we'll claim an unprecedented victory." King Wu swept his cold gaze across the deputy generals before him, then slashed his sword down as a warning and said, "Etch this into your minds. I am the King of Wu Nation now. If anyone dares to secretly negotiate negotiate peace with Yu Kingdom. Don't blame my sword for being merciless. Meanwhile, in the Yu Kingdom's military camp, King Ning Yuansen's hearty laughter echoed through the entire camp. At that moment, Ning Yuansen looked at the battle report in his hands, his eyes filled with overwhelming joy. Bian Xiao has truly lived up to expectations, though my senior brother hasn't been on the battlefield for years. The moment he struck, he was still sharp as ever. Who would have thought that Wu Nation's 100,000 troops couldn't even block Bian Zhao's surprise attack? With just 20,000 men, he's already seized countless Wu cities and towns. However, the moment he saw another report, the smile on his face instantly froze, followed by a furious roar. Jin Tua, you clearly have 20,000 troops under your command. Why didn't you go to Jang Chong's aid? If you and Jang Chong had joined forces to pin down Sun Nan's army, you could have held them at White Knight County for a month or two at least. By the time Bian Xiao turned Wu Nation upside down, the king of Wu would have had no choice but to negotiate. Then I could have focused all my strength on wiping out Sun Nan's rebellion. But now, it was Jang Chong who first faced the enemy alone, leading only 40 men, holding off Sun Nan's 30,000 troops for more than half a month. And you, Jin Tua, only dispatched 8,000 soldiers, who ended up getting stalled at Snowbright City. You call it defending the critical stronghold of White Knight Pass, which must not be lost. What utter nonsense. Unless Sun Nan's lost his mind, he'd never attack White Knight Pass. If he did provoke Zhong Rao's army, wouldn't he just be asking for death? Jin Tua, this is clearly collusion with the Su clan. A show you're putting on for me. What you're doing now is posturing, waiting for Jang Chong to fall, waiting for White Knight County to be taken. Do you really think that when the entire Yu Kingdom is in crisis, your army will suddenly become a precious bargaining chip? Don't forget, every single soldier under your command belongs to me, the king, not to you. Jin Tua. He paused for a moment. He suddenly looked up and asked Li Ji, what's the current situation with Wu Qi? Li Ji hurriedly replied, Your Majesty, a scout from the north just reported the 30,000 troops on Wu Nation's western front, who were originally planning to turn back and encircle Bian Zhao, have, for some unknown reason, suddenly changed course. They are now marching east at full speed to reinforce the Wu King's main camp. Before he even finished speaking, Ning Yuansen had already rushed to the strategy table, fixing his gaze on the Wu border. This current situation seems to be slipping out of control. Once Wu's 30,000 troops join forces with the main camp, the enemy will hold a force of 150,000 elite soldiers, while my Yu army now has only 80,000 left. I never expected Wu Qi, that reckless, hot-headed cub, to be able to suppress the many conservative veteran generals of Wu Nation, and at such a critical moment, to show this kind of boldness. Bian Zhao's surprise attack didn't make him retreat. Instead, he ordered the Western army to continue southward to pressure me. I underestimated him. I truly underestimated him. As these thoughts raced, Ning Yuansen suddenly realized he had forgotten someone important. Li Ji, what's the situation with that slippery little fox Shen Lang? Li Ji replied respectfully, Your Majesty, the latest intel from our spies says he led 200 troops to enter Aranana's tribe as reinforcement, and Chang King Arutai's 40,000 strong army took only half a day to push them back and trap them at the snowy summit ruins of the Great Calamity Palace. Upon hearing this news, Ning Yuansen's heart trembled violently. Shen Lang is full of tricks. How could he be forced into a desperate situation so easily? If he retreated to the snowy mountain, he must have a follow-up plan. Could it really be, like Ning Jie said, that he might destroy the Su clan with just 200 soldiers? No, I must be insane. How could I place my hopes on a reckless young boy? Thinking this, Ning Yuansen shook his head, calmed himself, and gave the order, Convey my command. Third Prince Ning Qi is to lead 30,000 troops to garrison at Lang County. They must block Sun Nan's rebel forces west of Lang County at all costs. Ning Yuansen knew very well that most of southern western Celestial Province falling to the enemy was now a foregone conclusion, so the only option left was to make Lang County the final line of defense, and the true culprit behind all of this was Jin Tua. The Battle of White Knight County, after half a month of brutal fighting, finally ended with Su Kuan's suicide. Though the corpses outside the city had already been collected, the wreckage of siege engines scattered across the ground, and the bloodstains smeared along the city walls still struck a chilling sight. At this moment, inside Jang Chong's bedroom, when Shen Lang lifted the bandages from his body, more than a dozen inflamed and festering wounds came into view. Even someone like him, used to seeing life and death, couldn't help but gasp. Lord Zhang really has an iron will to keep commanding from the front lines with such severe injuries. If it were an ordinary man, this wouldn't have ended with just a fever. No time to waste. Shen Lang picked up the scalpel and swiftly removed the necrotic tissue one by one, treating the wounds with meticulous care. An hour later, Shen Lang had finally finished treating all of Jang Chong's injuries. Princess Ning Jia, now stripped of her disguise, looked on with Jang Chong. They hurried forward to ask about his condition. Shen Lang gave a relieved smile and said, Don't worry, Lord Zhang's throat-cutting attempt didn't cause any lasting harm. On the contrary, the blood loss helped reduce his high fever. I've already administered anti-inflammatory medicine. As long as his temperature doesn't spike again, he'll be fine. Upon hearing this, Zhang Sun beside them could no longer hold back his emotions and burst into tears. Young Master Shen, it's all my fault. Because of my incompetence, I put my father in danger and nearly missed the critical timing in battle. battle. I truly deserve 1,000 deaths. Shenlang, seeing this, comforted him. Lord Zhang, there's no need to blame yourself. Lord Zhang will wake up soon. Right now, he still needs your care. I believe with you and little Zhang Yun by his side, he'll wake up in no time. Leaving Jang Chong's residence, Shenlang and Ning Jia walked into the streets of White Knight County. Looking at the war-torn ruins of the city, Shenlang felt a surge of emotion. In just over 20 days, this once impenetrable stronghold had been ravaged into ruins by the flames of war. One could only imagine how brutal this defensive battle had been. At that moment, Ning Jia stepped forward and asked, though the battle for White Knight County is over, there are still 8,000 Su troops at Snow Bright City. Why don't you seize the momentum and march north to wipe out Su Zhan in one blow? Shenlang shook his head and chuckled softly. Why so anxious? My troops are all cavalry. Are they even suited for a siege? At this point, Shenlang paused, a sly smirk appearing on his face. Jin Tua has been putting on a grand show for over half a month now. Isn't it about time he showed his face? The moment the name Jin Tua was spoken, a flash of murderous intent crossed Ning Jia's eyes, followed by a cold utterance of 4 words. Jin Tua must die. Hearing that, Shenlang turned his back and let out a laugh. Bet he never imagined we'd actually turn the tide in what looked like a hopeless battle. Now all the pressure. General Jin Tua, it's your turn to bear it. Meanwhile, in Jin Tuo's camp outside Snow Bright City, Jin Tua stared at the battle report in disbelief. Shenlang won? How is that even possible? That kid, how did he pull this off? Single-handedly turned the entire battle around. At that moment, the bandage wrapped around his arm, used to deceive the king of you, became the most ironic joke of all. What's worse, this past half-month, he had been fake fighting with Su Zhan the entire time, and Shenlang not only helped Jang Chong win the Battle of White Knight County, but even turned the Chan army into allies. In the current situation, what is Jin Tua supposed to do? Shenlang, you little thief, are you trying to get me killed? There's no other choice now. He had to gamble everything. He strode straight out of the house, ripped off the disguise from his body, and shouted an order. Men, send word to my son Jingwang immediately. Tell him to lead the troops south from White Knight Pass at once to support me. Rally the entire army for battle. This general will fight Su Zhan to the death if I don't retake Snow Bright City. I, Jin Tua, will not rest. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly turned around and cowed out. Your Majesty, your grace toward your servant is as vast as a mountain. Even if I am shattered to pieces, I cannot repay it. If I fail to capture Snow Bright City in this battle, I will bring you my head. Half an hour later, Jin Tua, burning with urgency, could no longer wait for Jingwang's reinforcements. He hastily ordered the army to launch a fierce assault on Snow Bright City. Upon hearing this, Su Zhan immediately sent an envoy to Jin Tuo's camp, requesting that Jin Tua continue the previous false standoff, but Jin Tua was completely unmoved. He even went as far as executing the Su envoy on the spot. Jin Tuo's sudden betrayal instantly threw Su Zhan into a panic. He knew all too well that his own soldiers understood. The main Su army had already been defeated. Jingwang's reinforcements were heading south from White Knight Pass, and Shenlang and Jang Chong's forces could strike from the north at any time. Once tens of thousands of enemy troops surrounded Snow Bright City, his small force would stand no chance. Their main force had already lost, and holding this city now had no strategic value. It was better to retreat to the distant Guard Marquis estate before the enemy completed the encirclement. With that thought, he immediately gave the order. Pass the word, prepare for a breakout. Soon after, under relentless pursuit by Jin Tuo's army, Su Zhan personally led the charge, commanding 8,000 Su troops to force their way out of the city. It was a bloody path, and after losing over 3,000 men, he barely managed to retreat with 5,000 battered troops back to the distant Guard Marquis estate. The scene then shifts back to White Knight County. In the central square of the city, Su Jianyan slowly regained consciousness. The poison in his body was gradually fading, but a bone-chilling cold shot up his spine, and when he fully realized his current state, in an instant, he was scared out of his wits. At this moment, he was completely naked, his limbs tightly bound with coarse ropes, and even worse, his neck and genitals were also tightly wrapped in rope. 6 hemp ropes, each tied to a different warhorse. This is dismemberment by horses. Just as he was reeling in shock, Shenlang walked over and stood before him, then looked down at him and said coldly, Su Jianyan, do you remember what you did back in Capital City? You led men to burn down my Jin family estate and slaughtered more than a dozen of my guards. Hearing this, Su Jianyan tried to suppress his fear, shouting with false bravado, so what? If they were your Jin family dogs, then they deserve to die. Shenlang, if you've got guts, then give me a quick death. At those words, Shenlang's lips curled into a cold smile. A quick death? Don't worry, I'll make sure you die very quickly. As his words fell, the 6 horses moved forward at once. The ropes snapped taut, and Su Jianyan was yanked into the air, agony tearing through every nerve in his body. Tears and snot streamed down his face as he howled. Shenlang, I was wrong. Please, at least let me die whole. But Shenlang replied coldly, from the moment you, beast, laid hands on little 5-year-old Zhang Yun, this ending was already sealed for you. Su Jianyan, you're just the beginning. After this, I'll lead my army to attack your Su family's distant Guard Marquis estate, and I will wipe out your entire clan. Soon, every member of the Su family will be in hell keeping you company. With that, he turned and gave the order directly, begin the execution. As the 6 horses galloped forward, sword. The sound of snapping bones and agonized screams intertwined and echoed throughout the entire square. Thus, Su Jianyan was finally torn limb from limb and died by dismemberment,